Numbers 19. The special water that makes people clean. The Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron. He said, "Here is what the law I have commanded requires. Tell the Israelites to bring you a young red cow. It must not have any flaws at all. It must never have proved the load. Give it to the Elijah the priest. It must be taken outside the camp and killed in front of him. Then Elijah the priest must put some of its blood on his finger. He must sprinkle the blood toward the tower in front of the tent of meeting. He must do it 7 times while he watches. The young cow must be burned. Its hide, meat, blood, and guts must be burned. The priest must get some cedar wood, branches of the hyssop plant, and bright red wool. He must throw them on the young cow as it burns. After that, the priest must wash his clothes. He must also take a bath. Then he can come into the camp, but he will be unclean until evening. The man who burns the young cow must wash his clothes. He must also take a bath. He too will be unclean until evening. A man who is clean will gather up the ashes of the young cow. He must put them in place that is clean. The place must be outside the camp. The ashes must be kept by the community of Israel. They will be added to the special water. The water will be used to make people pure for their sin. The man who gathers up the ashes of the young cow must wash his clothes. He too will be unclean until evening. This law is for the Israelites. It is also for the outsider living among them. The law will last for all time to come. Anyone who touches the dead person's body will be unclean for 7 days. They must make themselves pure and clean with the special water. They must do it on the 3rd day. They must also do it on the 7th day. Then they will be clean. But suppose they do not make themselves pure and clean on the 3rd day and 7th day, then they will not clean. Anyone who touches a dead person's body and does not make themselves pure and clean makes my holy tent unclean. They must be separated from Israel. The special water has not been sprinkled on them, so they are unclean, and they remain unclean. Here is the law that applies when a person dies in a tent. Anyone who enters the tent will be unclean for 7 days. Anyone in tent will also be unclean for 7 days. And anything in it that is open and has no lid will be unclean. Suppose someone is out in the country, and suppose they touch someone who has been killed by a sword, or they touch someone who has died a natural death, or they touch a human bone or a grave, then anyone who touches any of those things will be unclean for 7 days. Here is what I want you to do for someone who is unclean. Put some ashes from the burned young cow into a jar. pour fresh water on the ashes. The man who is clean must dip branches of his shop plant in the water. He must sprinkle the tent with it. Everything that belongs to the tent must be sprinkled with it. The people in the tent must also be sprinkled. Anyone who has touches a human bone or a grape must be sprinkled. So must anyone who has touches someone who has been killed. And so must anyone who has touches someone who has died the natural death. The man who is unclean must sprinkle those who are unclean. That must be done on the third and seventh days. On the seventh day, those who are unclean must be made pure and clean. Those being made clean must wash their clothes. They must take a bath. Then that evening they will be clean. But what if those who are unclean does not make themselves pure and clean? Then they must be separated from the community. They have made my holy tent unclean. The special water has not been sprinkled on them. They are unclean. The law will apply to all those people for all time to come. The man who sprinkles the special water must also wash his clothes. Anyone who touches the water will be unclean until evening. Anything that an unclean person touches becomes unclean, and anyone who touches it becomes unclean until evening. Numbers 20. The Lord gives Israel water out of the rock. In the first month, the whole community of Israel arrived at the desert of Zin. They stayed at Kadesh. Miriam died and was buried there. The people didn't have any water, so they gathered together to oppose Moses and Aaron. They argued with Moses. They said, "Wish we had died when our people fell dead in front of the Lord. Why did you bring the Lord people into this desert? We and our livestock will die here. Why did you bring us up out of Egypt? Why did you bring us to this terrible place? It doesn't have any grain or figs. It doesn't have any grapes or pomegranate. There isn't even any water for us to drink." Moses and Aaron left the people. They went to the entrance to the tent of meeting. There they fell with their faces to the ground. Then the glory of the Lord appeared to them. The Lord said to Moses, "Get your walking stick. You and your brother Aaron gather the people together. Then speak to that rock while everyone is watching. Either pour out its water, you will bring water out of the rock for the community. Then they and their livestock can drink it." So Moses took the walking stick from the tent. He did just as the Lord had commanded him. He and Aaron gathered the people together in front of the rock. Moses said to them, "Listen, you who refuse to obey. Do we have to bring water out of this rock for you?" Then Moses raised his arm. He hit the rock twice with his walking stick. Water poured out, and the people and their livestock drank it. But the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron. He said, "You didn't trust in me enough to honor me. You did not honor me as the holy God in front of the Israelites. So you will not bring this community into the land I am giving them." Those were the water of Merida. That's where the Israelites argued with the Lord. And that's where he was proven to be holy among them. Edom doesn't let Israel pass through its territory. Moses sent messengers from Kadesh to the king of Edom. The messenger said, "The nation of Israel is your brother." They say, "You know about all the hard times we've had. Long ago, our people went down into Egypt. We lived there for many years. The Egyptians treated us and our people badly. But we cried out to the Lord. He heard our cry. He sent an angel and brought us out of Egypt. Now, here we are at the town of Kadesh. It's on the edge of your territory. Please let us pass through your country. We won't go through any field or vineyard. We won't drink water from any well. We'll travel along the King's Highway. We won't turn to the right or the left. We'll just go straight through your territory." But the people of Edom answered, "We won't let you pass through here. If you try to, we'll march out against you. We'll attack you with our swords." The Israelites replied, "We'll go along the main road. We and our livestock won't drink any of your water. If we do, we'll pay for it. We only want to walk through your country. That's all we ask." Again, the people of Edom answered, "We won't let you pass through here." Then the people of Edom marched out against them. They came with a large and powerful army. Edom refused to let Israel go through their territory, so Israel turned away from them. Aaron dies. The whole country of Israel started out from Kadesh. They arrived at Mount Hor. It was near the border of Edom. There the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron. He said, "Aaron will join the members of his family who have already died. He will not enter the land I am giving to the Israelites, but they will refuse to obey my command. You did it at the water of Merida. So get Aaron and his sons Eleazar, take them up Mount Hor. Take Aaron's official robes off of him. Put them on his son Eleazar. Aaron will die on Mount Hor. He will join the members of his family who have already died." Moses did just as the Lord had commanded. The three men went on Mount Hor while the whole community was watching. Moses took Aaron's official robes off of him. He put them on Aaron's son Eleazar, and Aaron died there on top of the mountain. Then Moses and Eleazar came down from the mount. The whole country found out that Aaron had died. So all the Israelites mourned for him. for 30 days. Numbers 21. Israel destroyed Arad. The Canaanite king of the city of Arad lived in the Negev desert. He heard that Israel was coming along the road to Adarim. So he attacked the Israelites. He captured some of them. Then Israel made a promise to the Lord. They said, "Hand these people over to us. If you do, we'll send their cities apart to in a special way to be destroyed." The Lord gave Israel what they asked for. He handed the Canaanites over to them. Israel completely destroyed them and their towns, so that place was named Homer. Moses made a bronze snake. The Israelites traveled from Mount Hor along the way to the Red Sea. They wanted to go around Edom, but they grew tired on the way. So they spoke against God and against Moses. They said, "Why have you brought us out of Egypt? Do you want us to die here in the desert? We don't have any bread, we don't have any water, and we hate this awful food." Then the Lord sent a poisonous snake among the Israelites. The snakes bit them. Many of those people died. The other came to Moses. They said, "We sinned when we spoke against the Lord and against you. Pray that the Lord will take the snakes away from us." So Moses prayed for the people. The Lord said to Moses, "Make a snake, put it up on the pole. Then anyone who is bitten can look at it and remain alive." So Moses made a bronze snake. He put it up on a pole. Then anyone who was bitten by a snake and looked at the bronze snake remained alive. The people continued on to Moab. The Israelites moved on. They camped at Obath. Then they started out from Obath. They camped in Abarim. It's in the desert on the eastern border of Moab. From there, they moved on. They camped in the Jared Valley. They started out from there and camped by the Aaron River. It's in the desert that spreads out into the territory of the Amorites. The Arnon is the border of Moab. It's between Moab and Amorite. Here is what the book of words of the Lord say about it. Sing about Jahab in Supah and the valleys. Sing about the Aaron and the slough of the valleys. They lead to the settlement called Ar. They lie along the border of Moab. From there, the Israelites counted on to Beer. That was the well where the Lord spoke to Moses. He said, "Gather the people together. I will give them water to drink." Then Israel sang a song. They said, "Spring up, you well. Sing about it. Sing about the well the prince dug. Sing about the well the nobles of the people dug. All their rulers were holding their scepters and walking sticks. Then the Israelites went from the desert to Matana. They went from Matana to Nahaliel. They went from Nahaliel to Bamoth. And they went from Bamoth to a valley in Moab. It's a valley where the highest slope of Pisgah look out over a dry and empty land. Israel wins the battle over Sihon and Og. The Israelites sent messengers to speak to Sihon. He was the king of the Amorites. The messengers said to him, "Let us pass through your country. We won't go off the road into any field or vineyard. We won't drink water from anywhere. We'll travel along the king's highway. We'll just go straight through your territory." But Sihon wouldn't let Israel pass through his territory. He gathered his whole army together. Then he marched out into the desert against Israel. When he reached Jahaz, he fought against Israel. But Israel put him to death with their swords. They took over his land. They took everything from the Aaron River to the Jabbok River. But they didn't take over any of the land of the Amorites. That's because the Amorites had
일치할 가능성이 높은
built
사진입니다.
fort along their border. The Israelites captured all the cities of the Amorites. Then they settled down in them. They captured the city of Heshbon. They also captured all the settlement around it. Sihon, the king of Amorites, ruled in Heshbon. He had fought against an earlier king of Moab. Sihon had taken from him all his land all the way of the Aaron River. That's why the poets say, "Come to Heshbon, let it build again. Let Sihon's city be made as good as new." Fire went out from Heshbon. The blaze went out from the city of Sihon. It burned up Ar in Moab. It burned up the citizens who lived in Arnon's hills. Moab, how terrible it is for you. People of Chemosh, you are destroyed. Chemosh has deserted his sons and daughters. His sons have run away from the battle. His daughters have become prisoners. He has handed all of them over to Sihon, the king of the Amorites. But we have taken them all over. Heshbon's ruler has been destroyed all the way to Dibon. We have destroyed them as far as Napah. Napah goes all the way to Mededa. So Israel settled in the land of Amorites. Moses sent spies to the city of Jazer. The Israelites captured the settlements around it. They drove out the Amorites who were there. Then they turned and went along the road toward Bashan. Og was the king of Bashan. He and his whole army marched out. They went to fight against Israel at Edrei. The Lord said to Moses, "Do not be afraid of Og. I have handed him over to you. I have given you his whole army. I have also given you his land. Do to him what you did to Sihon, the king of the Amorites. He ruled in Heshbon." So the Israelites struck down Og and his sons, and he wiped out his whole army. They didn't leave anyone alive. They took over his land for themselves.